Sonic the Hedgehog is my favorite video game series of all time. It's had its ups, it's had its downs, and it's had its in-betweens, but through it all, the good old blue blurs remain my favorite fictional character of all time. His cocky and carefree attitude, his amazing sense of speed, his perfect shade of blue, his amazing sense of justice, all play into why I love him so much. To celebrate his 27th anniversary coming up on June 23rd, I've decided to do a series of reviews of every classic Sonic game to show just what makes this little guy so special. We're of course going to start with the first game, Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis. I'm going to be playing the mobile port created by Christian Whitehead and distributed by Sega for 1, the better video quality, and 2, a lack of many issues that plagued the original game. So anyway, the year is 1991. Upcoming video game company Sega has had their 16-bit console, the Sega Genesis, on the market for 3 years now. Their biggest competition, Nintendo, recently launched their own 16-bit console, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which was better in every way, including exclusive IPs. With this new powerhouse on the market, Sega quickly realized that they needed a new game and mascot that would blow Nintendo's mascots out of the water. Enter Sonic the Hedgehog, created by Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima. Sonic as a character was the pure embodiment of what was considered cool in the 90s. Unlike his biggest rival Mario, who was just a happy-go-lucky blank slate at pretty much all times, Sonic actually had a personality and an attitude, with more emphasis on the latter. Just look at this title screen! He's looking at the player with a cocky glare and a wagging finger. Everything you need to know, this character is full of attitude and that he means business. Also, fun fact, Sonic was the first video game character to ever have an idle animation. You leave him standing completely still for a few seconds and he'll look right at the screen and impatiently tap his foot. If that doesn't scream attitude, I don't know what does. So you press start and you get thrown into the first level, Green Hill Zone. The interesting thing about this game is that the levels aren't just a generic 1-1 or 5-3 or 8-2, etc. These levels actually have names, are called zones rather than worlds, and the individual levels in these zones are called acts rather than levels, which kinda makes Sonic unique. The game zones are beautiful green fields, lava-filled ruins, pinball, flooded ruins, futuristic city in space, and death! Or, as the game calls them, Green Hill, Marble, Spring Yard, Labyrinth, Starlight, and Scrap Brain. This game also has a subtle yet easily noticeable environmental theme. Nature versus industry, as I've heard it referred to as before. The zones start out all beautiful and natural, but slowly fade into darker and more mechanical environments. Anyway, we won't be getting to those mechanical environments unless we actually play the game, will we? Off we go! Another thing that's interesting and unique about this game that's immediately noticeable is that Sonic doesn't just take off at a standard fixed speed like Mario. You build up speed at a realistic acceleration rate. You have 2 attacks, jumping and rolling. Jumping is assigned to all 3 buttons on the Sega Genesis controller. Your other attack, the roll, you do by pressing down after running for so long. The faster you're moving, the longer you'll roll. You can also roll down slopes to gain speed. These attacks allow you to instantly destroy the game's enemies, robots with animals trapped inside, again with the nature versus industry theme, otherwise known as badniks. As you progress through the game, you collect rings, similar to Mario and his coins. Unlike Mario, however, the rings are your health. You take damage and you lose all the rings you had, with a few seconds to grab back a maximum of 32 before they disappear. If you take damage without any rings, you lose a life. Lose all your lives and it's game over back to the beginning. Unless you're on a re-release with save states or the mobile version with a save feature. This ring mechanic is yet another thing that made Sonic stand out from Mario. In addition to the simple moveset and ring mechanic, this game also has 4 power-ups. They're contained in monitors, which are the game's version of Mario's question blocks. Sonic can break these monitors by jumping or rolling into them from any angle. The power-ups include a shield that allows you to gain an extra hit before you lose your rings, an invincibility shield that makes you invincible for a temporary amount of time as the game's theme music plays, a 1-up, which is self-explanatory, it gives you an extra life, speed shoes that triple your speed, and a ring item that gives you 10 additional rings. These power-ups are typically pretty well hidden, so you often have to go out of your way to find them. You finish each act by passing a sign with the game's antagonist on them, a fat man with a derpy mustache. Wait, what? No, it's not Mario. This is Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik, the creator of all the badniks you've been smashing the entire time. You pass this sign and replace it with one of Sonic. You finish 2 acts like this, and then the end of the 3rd act to meet the big man himself. In Green Hill, he attacks you with a wrecking ball of sorts, and you defeat him by jumping on his flying Eggmobile 8 times. He explodes, and you chase him to the right, stopping to destroy a capsule that contains multiple of those little animals you've been freeing from the badniks. Next stage! Marble Zone! In this stage, you have to navigate a stone maze of sorts that's filled with lava for some unexplained reason. This zone is so slow! You spend at least half your time here waiting for the platforms to slowly reach you, or slowly riding blocks across lakes of lava. It's also really hard for beginners. It took me months to finish this zone all the way through for the first time. This is a terrible second level for a game that's all about going fast. This short paragraph may not make it seem so bad, but if you were to experience it yourself, you would most likely agree this level sucks. I've heard that this was chosen as the second level to provide a break after the shock of the speed of Green Hill, which I guess makes sense, except for the fact that speed is the main selling point of this game. Why then would the second level be an incredibly platforming heavy maze of slowness? Moving on, what's the boss? Robotnik floats above you and sets fire to the stone platforms you're standing on. Somehow. Anyway, 8 hits, destroy another capsule, and it's on to the next zone. Spring Yard Zone is definitely faster than Marble Zone, but it's still not as fast and open as Green Hill Zone. This stage allows you to utilize the rolling mechanic to its fullest advantage because of the sheer number of slopes and half-pipes there are. There's also springs and pinball bumpers everywhere, which can easily either help you along with speed, or completely throw you off course. It has its fair share of slow platforming segments, but they don't overstay their welcome, unlike Marble Zone. Overall, I'd say it's one of the better stages in the game. What's the boss? Robotnik slowly destroys the platform you're on, one block at a time, with one single spike, as he drops right down to your jumping level. 8 hits, stupidest boss in the game. Next! Labyrinth Zone is agreed by pretty much everyone to be the worst zone in the entire game. Most of the zone is underwater, which is Sonic's weakness. Sonic can't run at full speed, his jumps are incredibly floaty, and he has limited time before he drowns. He can extend his time by standing over a pile of bubbles and waiting for a big bubble to appear, upon which Sonic can breathe by jumping into it. And waiting for a bubble is totally fun! They also make drowning the most intense and nerve-wracking feeling as an incredibly suspenseful song plays during your last 5 seconds of air. Also, there's tons of waiting for incredibly slow platforms, almost as bad as Marble Zone. There's also doors you have to backtrack and press a button to open, which wastes your precious airtime. 3 acts of this pain! What's the boss? It's a vertical chase through an obstacle course made of the zone's hazards. At the top, Robotnik runs away for no reason. No fight, he just runs away. Okay then! Destroy another capsule and it's on to the second best zone in the game. Welcome to Starlight Zone, the sci-fi version of Green Hill. This zone is complete with slopes, loops, and everything else that makes a good Sonic level. It's so fast that even the slow moments with those little seesaw things and these moving platforms are fast. As a Sonic level, it's actually just about average, but compared to the rest of the game, it's a masterpiece! After all the slow crud we had to put up with to this point in the game, it's nice to have some fast relief. The boss involves those seesaw things. You launch the spiky balls, or yourself, into Robotnik's Eggmobile. 8 hits, another capsule, that was fun, moving on. Scrap Brain is Robotnik's base. This zone is the most difficult in the game, as is expected from the villain's base. To quote We Dude 83, everything on screen wants you dead. This zone is filled to the brim with buzzsaws, flamethrowers, bottomless pits below spinning platforms, conveyor belts that lead into buzzsaws, conveyor belts that lead into flamethrowers, badniks in quite a few inconvenient locations, and if you're inexperienced, you will die on your first times through. This is such an unbelievable difficulty spike. 2 acts of this death and destruction, and you encounter Robotnik himself outside of his Eggmobile behind, laser wall? I'm assuming that's a laser wall. He jumps on a button, jumping rather high for a man of his size, and drops the floor below you. You drop into a scrap brain-colored Labyrinth Zone? Of all zones to make a 4th act for at the end of the game, why Labyrinth? Anyway, if you know what you're doing like I do, you can get through this in like 30 seconds, but people who don't know this route will have a bad time. You find a row of red springs, the more powerful between the two, red and yellow, and you get launched into the final zone, which is literally just a boss for Scrap Brain Zone. You have no rings, and Robotnik tries to crush you with giant pistons, 2 at a time, of which he's riding 1 that's randomly decided each push. Between piston pushes, he tries to kill you with 4 slowly moving, easily avoidable electricity balls. You hit the piston he's in, do that 8 times, and game complete. He runs away and jumps into his Eggmobile, and you deal 1 final blow that causes him to sink as he flies away. Sonic runs through Green Hills, the game's theme song plays, then jumps to the screen. Credits roll with a beautiful medley of the game's themes. At the end of the credits, you see Robotnik and... what? Why does he have such a happy look on his face? What are those gemstones he's juggling? What's going on here? Well, you see, those are the Chaos Emeralds. They're the MacGuffins of the Sonic universe that Eggman was going after the whole time. This is the bad ending. You get the good ending by passing goalposts with 50 or more rings and jumping into the giant rings floating there. You get teleported into an incredibly trippy zone that's called the Special Zone. In this game's Special Zone, you have to navigate a rotating maze that ends with a Chaos Emerald. There's 6 emeralds you have to get, and there's only 10 acts you can get them in, which makes your chance of getting the emeralds very slim. If you get all 6 emeralds, you get the good ending, where Sonic uses the emeralds to intensify the natural life on his planet. Credits roll and you see Robotnik angrily and hilariously stomping on the word end. And that was Sonic the Hedgehog. As a first game to the series, it's not bad. The later games fixed most of the annoyances that plagued this game, and it started my favorite fictional series of all time. It's not a masterpiece by any means, nor do I really enjoy it that much, but it's still good. It's just not too enjoyable as a Sonic game because half the zones are impossible to go fast in, which is the whole point of the series. For a final conclusion, I'll give it a solid, it's okay. Pick it up if you want to see how the series began. Tune in next time when I review the sequel, Sonic the Hedgehog 2.